It was late October, and I decided to head out to the woods for a solo camping trip. The stress of work and life in general had been piling up, and I needed to disconnect. I found a remote spot in a national forest a couple of hours from home. It wasn't an official campsite, just an area I found through a hiking forum, quiet, untouched, and well off the beaten path. Perfect for a weekend of solitude. I arrived in the late afternoon, parked my car near the trailhead, and hiked about 2 miles into the woods. The air was crisp, and the golden hues of autumn leaves covered the ground, crunching under my boots. It was peaceful. Too peaceful, maybe, but I was grateful for the silence. I set up camp near a small clearing surrounded by towering pines. By the time I pitched my tent and got a fire going, the sun was already dipping below the horizon. The woods grew darker than I expected, the tall trees blocking out even the faintest moonlight. As the fire crackled, I pulled out a small flask of whiskey and a book. For the first couple of hours, it was perfect. The fire kept me warm, and the occasional rustle of leaves reminded me I wasn't entirely alone in the woods. Probably just animals, I told myself. But as the night wore on, the sounds seemed to grow closer. I dismissed it as paranoia and focused on my book. That was until I heard a distinct snap, like a branch breaking underfoot, coming from the darkness behind me. I froze, staring into the pitch-black void beyond the firelight. I called out, "Hello? Is someone there?" My voice felt small, swallowed by the surrounding forest. No response, just the steady crackle of the fire. I told myself it was nothing, maybe a deer, maybe just the woods settling. I tried to shake it off, but the uneasy feeling stuck with me. I decided to call it a night, putting out the fire and crawling into my tent. I zipped it up tight, leaving my boots and flashlight by the entrance. The silence was oppressive. I lay there listening, my heart pounding with every creak of the trees and gust of wind. Eventually, my exhaustion caught up to me, and I started to drift off. I don't know what woke me. Maybe it was a sound, or maybe just a feeling, but my eyes snapped open in the middle of the night. The woods were dead silent now. No wind, no rustling leaves, nothing. That's when I noticed it. The faint crunch of footsteps outside my tent. They were slow, deliberate, circling my campsite. My breath caught in my throat as I tried to stay perfectly still, straining to hear. Whoever, or whatever it was, stopped directly in front of my tent. I could see the faint outline of feet through the thin fabric, illuminated by the moonlight. I clenched my jaw, trying not to make a sound. Then, I heard it. A low, raspy voice whispering. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was unnerving, almost mocking. Suddenly, the tent fabric shifted as if someone ran their hand across it. I grabbed the knife I kept by my sleeping bag and yelled, "Who's out there? Get away!" My voice cracked, betraying my fear. For a moment, there was silence. Then the footsteps started again, retreating into the woods. I sat there, knife in hand, waiting for hours, but they never came back. At first light, I packed up and left. On the hike back, I kept looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see someone watching me from the trees. When I reached my car, there was a single muddy handprint on the driver's side window. I've never gone camping alone since.